Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine Kaur and I wanted to share with you guys one of my experience that I recently had. So I attended a workshop of brush calligraphy in my college and I really was fascinated with it, and I practiced a lot and I find it really interesting and I want to share it with you guys. I have done one video way past, like about 2 to 3 years ago, about folk calligraphy, which looks like brush calligraphy but isn't. But now, since I know how to actually do brush calligraphy, and I now want to share it with you guys. So come, let's practice brush calligraphy.
So, to practice brush calligraphy, there are two things that are essential: your paper and your brush pen. I am currently using a Tombow water based brush pen. It is two sided, one side has a bullet nib, and the other side has a brush nib. So, I am going to be using the brush nib here. This is one of the practice sheets from workshop I attended, but you don't necessarily need it. There's a right way to hold your brush. So you put your brush on the middle finger and hold it with your index and thumb finger, and then you practice your strokes. So this first type of stroke is called upstroke. In this, you have to move your brush pen with the very least amount of pressure, and you have to go upwards when you write. So whenever you're writing a letter like A, the first move goes upwards and the second move comes downwards. So you have to move upwards, and with the least amount of pressure you can put on the brush pen while making a line. You have to make the thinnest line as you can comfortably, and you have to move slow. I am moving fast here, but this video is actually sped up. You have to move real slow with this to get a perfect thickness on the entire line. Even I am not perfect since I am practicing after a long time. Before you do any kind of calligraphy, even my instructor told me that we need to practice and warm up every day before we try and do the actual project or work. So this is how you practice. You practice your upstrokes, and then you practice your downstrokes, and then you practice your turns and everything. So I am done with completing my upstrokes here, and now let's move on to the next stroke, which is called downstroke. But in this one, you have to apply as much pressure as you can. It's exactly the opposite of downstroke. See, in the first ones, I did not apply much pressure and I had my brush pen holding slightly upwards. In this, you have to hold your brush pen at a slight angle so that you can get the side of the brush to actually make the stroke. You might even hear the sound of brush dragging with the paper, which is actually good in this case. The next turn is overturn. So you have to combine both the upstroke and downstroke in this one. For an overturn, you have to move upwards first and then you have to come downwards with the light pressure going up and pressing hard on the brush when coming down. And you have to make mountains with it, or an upside down U, you can say. After overturns, it's exactly the opposite of overturns. You have to practice your underturns. Underturns are the right side up U's, where overturns was an upside down U. You have to practice an underturn, which is a right side up U. Coming down, you have to press hard, and then going up, you have to press with the lightest pressure possible on the brush. And then the next one is called compound curve. In this one, you have to practice overturns and underturns combined together. So we started with the thinnest stroke, our upstroke, and then we came to downstroke, and then we combined them both in our overturn and underturn. When we practice them enough, we can do compound curves. So combining your overturn and underturn together, you can do a compound curve. All of these motions are necessary for you to practice so that you can actually write letters when it comes to calligraphy. The next ones are oval. So there is a left oval and there is a right oval. Left oval has downstroke on the left side of the paper, and right oval has downstrokes on the right side of the paper. You have to practice them in both the ways. So I'm starting with the left oval, and we're going to do the right oval next. For the left oval, you can either start from the middle, but I like to start on the top. And then if there is any mistake, you can cover it up with your brush at the end or using the bullet nib. But I like to do it when I am doing with the brush, like right then and there, so I don't want to switch between both the nibs. Also, it is sometimes helpful to lift up your brush pen when you want to switch from thin stroke to thick stroke. Like if you are not comfortable switching right then and there, you can lift up your pen after you're done doing the thin stroke and then do the thick stroke. Even in thin stroke, you can start with doing it from the middle, but you can also start it from the top, as you can see I am doing here right now. Then you have your loops. So like in the letter H or P or something, some other letters, you have loops. So you have to also practice loops. This one is an ascending loop, starting from the right side, going up, and coming back from the left side, going down. And there is also a descending loop. Just like under the G or Y, you have to do a descending loop. So for this, you have to start from the right side going down and left side going up. All of these motions are at some point being used in writing your letters when doing calligraphy. But it's not just these motions. You can practice and have your own patterns that you want to try with downstroke and upstroke and thin stroke to thick stroke in any ways you want. So the next one is line of beauty. Line of beauty is like one of the most difficult strokes people find to do, and it was really hard for me to start them as well. You have to start with your stroke being thin and move on to being for it to be thick in the center and then thin again at the end. So it looks very elegant when you do it, but it is really hard to ensure that you have the right amount of pressure from the start to end for the line of beauty to be perfect. So you have to practice a lot with this thing. The letters where I see line of beauty being used is the letter K, letter R, or you can also use them in twirls when you do calligraphy. So these are the practice sheets that we used in our workshops, and these are the basic strokes that anyone can practice. But it's not just these basic strokes. You can practice a lot of other things as well, like making different patterns. You can Google some new patterns. So we also got this practice sheet where they gave us a few patterns, and there was one zigzag pattern, one loop pattern, and the third one is like making infinity loops, and we used line of beauty in those infinity loops. So yes, you get to practice all of your thin strokes, thick strokes, your ovals, and your line of beauties. Did you hear the thump? These are a lot of practice sheets that I did while I was in the workshop, and you can see all the practice strokes that I did. We need to practice these multiple times. You see, I created some new patterns of my own here. I used upstroke and downstroke half a turn, combining both the loops, or a lot of other things. Practiced the things I was weak at, and practiced more and more as much as I could. And see, I have marked a couple of my favorites here so that I can do better looking at them and creating. As you can see, I created loops here. So the similar way you can create your own patterns, and When you're done with that, you can also start practicing your letters and writing words. You can create your own patterns, you can create your own words, you can write, combine those letters, practice combining A with B, with C, and with D. Practice them all on once. We have practiced our letters here, so there are many ways you can write one single letter, so you can practice it multiple times. If you want to practice the letter A, you can practice it in multiple different styles, in multiple different ways. If you want to practice letter G, I love the letter G, it's so interesting to me. And also since my name starts with J, I love experimenting with J. So yeah, you can practice more and more. See, I have done a swoop here in Mankind. I love this K as well. You can try giving swoops, adding more and more things. You can practice an entire sheet with just one thing. And see, this is a way you can write different letters. You can take a screenshot of it, or you can find multiple ways on Google as well. Same thing here, you can see capital letters and small letters in different ways. There's no one way to write letters. You can find your own style in brush calligraphy. See how I made this heart with the twirl in the Y? You can do the same thing with your own ways, your own ideas. No one stops you here. You can do anything that you like. Any way of writing alphabet, it will be good. Calligraphy gets better with practice, and you don't need a practice sheet to practice it. You can see there are 4 lines on this practice sheet, and you can do the same thing with just a normal diary that you have at home, a really like simple notebook. It works too, and you don't have to have an expensive brush pen too. I'm gonna show it to you with different brush pens that I have at home, that I got from Dollarama, which is like just $4 pack. So I am doing upstrokes here in just a diary. You can practice it in any notebook, on plain paper, on any kind of paper you have. It's all about the timing, the amount of pressure you have to apply on your brush, and knowing how you can create what you want to create. Having the control over your hand is really important. Knowing how the brush will act is really important. When you touch your brush with the paper, you need to know in your mind before you actually create anything that how it will look like. You can practice all of your turns in just a simple notebook. You can practice writing letters. See, I am trying to write the word happy here, and you can see how I used ascending loop and my overturn, and then I am using oval, my left oval this time, and then I will be using a downstroke in the letter A, combining all the simple strokes that we just learned. We can join them together and write whatever we want. As I said, you don't have to have an expensive brush pen to write the perfect calligraphy that you want. You can just do it with some simple regular brush pens. These are the brush pens from Dollarama, under $5 for the entire pack of 12 brush pens. And I can get perfect strokes with this too. I can get the contrast of thin and thick, and I can also get different colors with it at a very less price. So I would recommend trying with a really cheap brush pen as well, and see how you can work with it. And if you find it interesting, go ahead and buy your expensive supplies, because of course there will be the difference between the expensive brush pens and the cheap ones. There might be a difference between how dark the pigment is. There might be a difference on how they perform, how soft the tip is, how much contrast you can get between them. See, I wrote green in wrong spelling. I missed the letter R. This happens sometimes when you do calligraphy, because you don't look at the letters as letters, you look at the letters as shapes. Anyways, to get better at calligraphy, all you have to do is practice, practice, and practice. And while practicing, I hope you guys fall in love with it too, as I did. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and comment if you would like to try calligraphy. If you like my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.